Da 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 da. I guess just stick out here. Well, you might be asking yourself, where the hell am I? I'm home. I'm home, Jim. We're not in the studio. It's cold. There's no heater in the studio. So I came home. And yeah, I'm gonna finish this piece while I'm here. So interesting video today. So I'm gonna be here drawing. So I'm sharing my testimony today. So while my hands are busy, we're gonna be listening to my testimony. So grab a sketchbook, whatever you're busy with, and let's get straight into it. And I always find testimonies kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie, cause like, what am I gonna share? What am I doing? You know. So this is kind of awkward for you, not necessarily for me, because I'm literally just going out on a limb here, just seeing what the hell, But yeah, man, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to begin or how to start it. And I was asked to share my testimony at church today. I'm going later, around like 6. So I was asked to share my testimony, and I was like, you know what? Let me share my testimony here as well. So, let's start from the beginning. So, I got saved when I was like in primary school. So like around like 10 years old. 10 years old, I was saved. And during that time, I remember it so vividly, like we were worshiping and I could just feel the spirit coming down on me. And in that moment, it was just bliss. And I could just feel the bliss and, you know, joy in that moment. And I was like, yep, Jesus is real. I was like, yep, Jesus is real, right? But I never really had people in my life that would like steward that in me, right? So I really never got the opportunity to go further into it, you know, because there was like nobody around. You know, my parents were around, but they weren't saved per se. You know, they weren't saved. So I'd only get this from like, I only get wisdom about the word and stuff from my grandma, you know. And I'd say she was the saved one in the family. She was saved, and that was pretty cool. So every time she would watch, like church and stuff, on whenever she'd visit, I'd also come and watch. So that was, and then she stopped visiting, and I stopped seeing her. I stopped seeing her, and that ultimately led to like me falling off, I'd say. Yeah, it's a fall off, not the J Cole album, but yeah, it's a fall off, and in that, in me falling off, I don't know, I went completely left with it. So then I decided like I was like 14, 15, that I would leave the faith, because I wasn't reading my Bible. I didn't like to read. So I was like, you know what? I'm leaving for good. For good. You want to know how that story panned out? But I was like, I'm leaving for good, and I dabbled in some things. I dabbled in crystals. I dabbled in other religions, Buddhism. Um, you know, I was just out here finding other ways to reject Christ, because that's exactly what I was doing. I was rejecting him. I was forming like a base where I could like reject him, and that be my truth as to why I am rejecting the creator of the universe. Is this? No, I don't think this is a good color. No, this color is whack. Um, yeah. So that's basically what was going on in my head, as to like, I gotta reject the creator, man, because he's not my creator. So trying to justify, living in sin, and just being okay with that, being comfortable with living like that, living that type of life. Even though internally I knew that it was wrong. Internally I knew that this isn't it. This isn't the path I'm supposed to be taking. But I ended up taking that path anyway, because I don't know. I was like mad, So I had like my own practices. I would do, um, you know, meditating and crystal work, and you know, manifesting, you know, all these things, you know, things that seem okay, but that aren't really okay, you know. So in the midst of that, I was rejecting God. So, but then like one one day in in my when I was in Pretoria, I had like a job. And in that job, I was very frustrated one time, and then I was like, I can't do this by myself anymore. Like, I really can't do this by myself, and like, I got overwhelmed. You know, I broke down. Like I feel like I'm always breaking down, but like, but I broke down, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of doing things my way. Let's do things your way, God. Let's let's try you out for a while. See what happens. Let's see what happens when we try you out. You know, I was rededicating my life to Christ, but not actually living like that. So I figured that by the time, because I was like, let me work here for a year, and then after a year, I can just quit. So I was like, by the time I'm done here, when I get home, I'm going to church. I'm going to church, and I was like, that's it. I have to know who this God is. The people are experiencing, and find find him for myself, and know him for myself, and know about him for myself instead of like being told. I see that he's doing a lot for people, that he's freeing people. I'm trying to know what freedom is, trying to know what that's like, trying to know what freedom is like, you know. So started started going it. Hey guys, so in the last 2 minutes of the video, the mic completely died. So basically what I was saying at the end is that I started going to church, and then but while I was in church, being curious as to who Jesus is, and I got convicted. And that kind of shifted my whole perspective as to the things that I was practicing were not godly, and they were frankly demonic. And so I had to get baptized. And that as soon as I realized that I made that shift, I was like, I'm getting baptized, and I'm gonna drown myself in the water. And that old guy is gonna die, and the new person that's gonna rise from that water is gonna be clean. So ever since then, like, it's been good. I can say it's been good. So yeah, that's the video. I'll charge my mic next time, but yeah, that's the video. That's my testimony. Yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. So this is